Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sebastian, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a pretty interesting show for you guys, but before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. So, as you guys know, there's a lot of shakeups taking place in the sports world right now. We just recently saw ESPN lay off a myriad of talent. Just yesterday, was it yesterday, the day before yesterday, they just let go of Mark Jackson. That was a pretty big piece of news. A lot of people were disappointed about that because Mark Jackson formed a trio of himself, Jeff Van Gundy and Mike Breen, covering NBA games, NBA Finals games. And it's a trio that I think a lot of people are going to miss. Even Mike Breen, when he heard the news, he was kind of surprised. He said he wished that they could have stuck together for a little bit longer. So a lot of people are kind of reeling from that. But right now, as things stand, there's a lot of shakeups taking place in the sports media landscape. Of course, you know Shannon Sharpe, he's a free agent. Who was recently with FS1. Some people are now speculating that he may head over to ESPN. We've obviously seen Stephen A. Smith publicly lobbying for ESPN to get Shannon Sharpe to come on ESPN First Take and also to get him under the umbrella overall. So there's a lot of movement taking place. And speaking of movement, it brings us to one of the faces at FS1, which is Colin Cowherd. Colin Cowherd is by far one of the top paid sports commentators in the universe. He's one of the faces of FS1. He's right up there with Skip Bayless and others. And it looks like ESPN is currently secretly working on a deal to reunite with Colin Cowherd, because maybe some of you may not be aware of this, but in the past, Colin Cowherd actually used to work at ESPN, right? So this morning I was doing some research and I came across the website Front Office Sports, where I get a lot of my information from these days, website I absolutely love. And they had this headline which says, Fox next problem, can it keep Colin Cowherd from free agency? And I was like, okay, now this is pretty interesting. Okay, so let me get into this article here. It continues on. Colin Cowherd's FS1 contract expires in early 2025. ESPN tried to woo him back a few years ago. This article is by Michael McCarthy. It continues on. With Shannon Sharpe out the door, Fox Sports has another huge potential talent problem. Can it retain superstar Colin Cowherd? The possible free agent's current deal expires in early 2025 after the conclusion of the NFL season, sources said. The 59-year-old Colin Cowherd is happy after a successful 8-year run at FS1, said sources. His long-running show, The Herd with Colin Cowherd, airs simultaneously on FS1, Fox Sports Radio at noon, and he also appears on Fox NFL Kickoff Sunday pregame show. He previously co-hosted the original version of Speak for Yourself with Jason Whitlock. Cowherd's also finding success with his own The Volumes, the Startups podcast network. But ESPN is very interested in a reunion, sources said sources. The brass in Bristol views Cowherd as the answer to their struggling ratings on ESPN radio, sources said. ESPN recently canceled the Keyshawn J. Williams Max morning show, then laid off co-host Keyshawn Johnson and Max Kellerman. The monster negotiation coming up for Fox is Colin, warned one source. His ratings are at an all-time high and he causes zero issues, unlike Skip Bayless. Despite the painful recent round of downsizing, ESPN is willing to pay what it takes for their biggest talents. Chairman Jimmy Patario recently signed an estimated 5-year, $85 million deal to bring the Pat McAfee show to ESPN's weekday programming block. Stephen A. Smith recently confirmed a Front Office Sports story that he wants to enlist Sharpe for his team of rotating debate partners on First Take. Former FS1 chief Jamie Horowitz recruited Cowherd to FS1 in September of 2015 after 10 years at ESPN, where he co-hosted the original Sports Nation with Michelle Beadle. Cowherd recently told the New York Post a top ESPN executive wooed him the last time his contract was up. The executive believed to be ex-radio boss Trog Keller, and then the article goes on to say, a few other things there. So as you can see, Colin Cowherd is one of the big wigs in the business. As a matter of fact, we actually put up a poll a number of months ago, dare I say 6 months ago, over 6 months ago, where we asked our audience of all of these, sports commentators, who do you think is the best? We put up Colin Cowherd up there, and he got a considerable amount of votes, and a lot of people said that they watch his show, right? A lot of people said that he watched his show. Also, another thing worth noting is that our audience is predominantly NBA fans, although these NBA fans watch the NFL, but it's not like an NFL channel. I guarantee you, if we had like an NFL audience or a much broader audience, like if we spoke about the NFL here, I'm pretty sure you would see an even larger amount of people voting for Colin Cowherd. As the article said, he doesn't really make any waves. You don't hear anything about him. And the funniest thing was the video that Shannon Sharpe created on his last day at FS1 was hilarious. Why? Because he kind of documented his entire day. Shannon Sharpe gets to the studio or to the office, wherever. He's coming out of his car. He walks into the elevator. I don't know, it was 4 a.m. in the morning, 5 a.m. in the morning. And who do you see standing in an elevator? And he looked like somebody's science teacher. It was Colin Cowherd. I'm like, this is Colin Cowherd? Like, you wouldn't even. He was so unassuming, for somebody with that level of popularity that makes that much money. You would think he would have a much bigger presence, but he was just like a regular guy, right? So I can believe when they say that this guy doesn't make any waves. He just goes about his business. And to me, listen, I think that the bidding wars are going to begin, especially given the fact that we've seen all of these shakeups. It's created a lot of open space. And I think that, listen, these networks now are looking for guys that can really move the needle. And if they feel that Colin Cowherd can move the needle, they're going to throw money at him. Now, ESPN does have a history of being cheap, but now, as you're seeing, as the article just mentioned, that they offered Pat McAfee an $85 million contract. If you bring the value, they'll bring the bag. So I guess we have to wait and see. So what I want to know from you guys is, what do you think about this report? Do you think it's possible that Colin Cowherd reunites with FS1, or do you think that, hey, this is just a pipe dream, wouldn't pay FS1 with ESPN, or do you think that this is just a pipe dream, wouldn't waste much of my time on it? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts in the comment section, and we catch you guys on the next show.